Hello, this is Don Milne. I'm making this video as part of the training material we're providing for those people that are helping with the Arlington National Cemetery World War II Fallen Project. The mission of Stories Behind the Stars is to have a story for every one of the World War II fallen. In this case, we're going to be focusing on the 7,700 Arlington National Cemetery World War II fallen. And our target is to get them done, as many as possible, by Memorial Day of 2022. So far, Stories Behind the Stars in about 2 years has completed getting close to 14,000 stories. Our first project was the state of Utah, where we did 2,100 stories. Then we did all those who died on June 6th, 1944 as part of the D-Day invasion, all the Americans, and that was 2,502. Our most recent project was to tell the stories of the 2,335 Pearl Harbor fallen. So here's some early history on our Arlington National World War II project. We needed to get a database of names that we could work off of. So the first thing we tried was contact Arlington National Cemetery and see if that was available. So what happened when we tried the direct request, I think it just didn't go to the right people, and so they told us it wasn't available. So the next thing I tried was maybe if I can go through my congressman or senator, we can do that. So I tried it through my congressman and through 3 different senators. One senator did get a reply back, but the reply was, there isn't a database available, so sorry, no. So our backup plan at that point was, let's go to Find a Grave and Billion Graves, who were kind enough to give us the data they had for Arlington National Cemetery. And we thought, we know that there's data on the fallen at Arlington. The government has spent millions of dollars in this particular area. So we thought, let's do a FOIA request and be able to get that data so we have the source from Arlington National Cemetery itself. As it turns out, Scott Rail, one of our volunteers, he developed some relationships with the right people, and he was able to obtain a database directly from Arlington National Cemetery. Now, a couple things about this database. It's incomplete and it's a little broad, so I'm going to share what they gave us to give you some background on that. So here's the information they gave us from Arlington National Cemetery. They did give us names. We have death dates. Not all the birth dates. We have a burial date and the location of where they are. What they didn't give us is the state information that's on the headstone, or the rank, which is usually on the headstone, or medals, which is sometimes on the headstone, or the unit, which is often on the headstone. So that's incomplete information. The list also provided, based on how they were able to extract this, names that weren't people who served during World War II. So these would be spouses and children who are buried at Arlington, that were buried between 1941 and 1946, January of 1946. And it also includes those in the service who died between 1941 and January 1946, who served previously, not during the war, but they died during that period. So that's what we started with. So the next step to do was to take this incomplete Arlington National Cemetery database and merge it with the information we already had from Find a Grave, because they had some of the missing information that wasn't in the Arlington database. So the current database we're using was formatted by Catherine Rasdorf and Lois Hela and a couple more volunteers with some great skills in that area. And I'm going to share what that looks like. So this is the merged database, and it takes information that was on the Find a Grave version and added it to the same name for Arlington. And the Find a Grave also had a few names that didn't show up on the Arlington database. So we have some extra names that we have added from that point. But what ended up happening is, having all these many names, we ended up with, as you can see here, 14,000 names plus. And there aren't that many. We think it'll end up being 7,700. So the next step we had to do is, we're going to divide this up into 17 different operations, so we don't put this all into one project like we did previously. because those projects, the most was 2,500, and here we're looking at 14,000. We're going to wean it down hopefully to 7,700. So we're breaking it down, and I decided to break it down into 17 areas. And to give it a little bit of color, we're using famous World War II code names to refer to each of these sections. And we're starting with the smallest one. So the first area has less than 100 names. The last area will have more than 1,000 names. So let's dive into that a little deeper. On this page, I've summarized our different operations from smallest to largest. And the ones that are at the top, we've already been working on for about a month. Watchtower, Land Crab, and Husky. All the names have been assigned out, so the stories are being written or have already been written. Torch, Galvanic, those are still in the process of taking volunteers to write those stories. And these farther down, we're now working on adding the data that was been missing and eliminating the names that were not from World War II. So the start count is what we get from the Arlington list. And then the final count is after we have what we're calling our phase 1 researchers go through and take out the spouses, the children, the non-World War II names. So they only took out 10 for Watchtower, but here for Torch, they were able to take out almost 300. So we don't write stories about these other people buried there. We focus on those who died in the service during World War II. And so these are the ones we're doing stories for. I'll give you a visual look here. So some of the sections, I've color-coded these, some of the sections did not have very many World War II fallen in them. So this one, I don't know if you can see that, B, that's our land crab area. I combined these all into one operation. A was the first one we did. Lots of different sections, but not a lot of burials that were for World War II. So those are all combined in one group. And we're starting, as I said, with the smallest areas, and we'll end up at the end with those sections that have the greatest concentration of World War II buried. So section P, which is section 34. So our Operation P, we're calling Battle of the Bulge, is section 34. And that's right here. And our section Q, which we're calling Iceberg, is section 12. And those are the ones where we're going to see the most names. And we're doing those last so that we can get the earlier ones done first. On this slide here, I'm just reviewing some of the areas where we need help with on the Arlington project. The key area where we need help is with story writers. And what we're hoping to get from those people that are going to help us write stories is have them tell us how many stories they think they can do each week, whether they're going to save them on the Together We Serve platform or the Full 3 platform, and then also let us know if they have an area of interest. So if they like doing Navy names or Army Air Force, if they like doing names from Wisconsin, whatever their area of interest. If we know that ahead of time, then we can get you those names where possible. The other things we need help with include section directors. Let me share who our section directors are so far. Over here in this column, we've got the names of our section directors. We have 9 of them so far that are helping us do this. And we can always use more because as we get to the larger projects, we'll probably want to double up. So if you're interested in helping lead a section, that would be great. We'd like to thank our section directors for leading each operation that they've been asked to do. The next one on there is database crew. And those are the people that are helping us take the limited information we have to start with in our database. And we go and we find what is their service number. Do we have a date of birth? Do we have a state record, a place where they were born? Do we have an existing story already so we don't have to write a story? There's just some basic information that within 2 to 5 minutes, if someone just looks a few different websites, they can get that information for us. So that helps us have a database in shape for when the names are assigned to our writers. So we appreciate those 24 people that are already helping with that, but if more people are interested in that kind of assistance, we would welcome you learning more about that. Something that we want to make available to our writers is what we're calling photo enhancers. You may or may not be aware that MyHeritage, which is one of our partners, has a feature where you can take a photo that may be in a little rough shape, it looks scratched up, It's out of focus, and they're able to enhance those so it's a lot crisper image. So we have some of our people that volunteer to do photo enhancing, and that's very helpful to get us a better photo of the fallen that we have across. We have people that are volunteering to review the stories of the first story that our new volunteers have submitted, so we can give them some best practices feedback on how they've written their first story and maybe point out some things they have missed or other things that'll make their stories better. The last thing on this list that we could appreciate help with is what we're calling Together We Served editors. So when stories are saved to Together We Served, it's more of a wiki approach in that those can be added to or adjusted as more information comes forward. So if people would like to help with that feature, then let me know. One of the major reasons why we're doing this project is we want to have a new Arlington National Cemetery experience. There's a separate video you can watch where you can see some examples of the 2 existing smartphone apps that can be used at Arlington National Cemetery right now. One is Find a Grave and Fold 3. You can use that right now at Arlington to read stories. And same with Together We Served. As long as a story's been saved to these platforms, the stories will work. So we're hoping that on Memorial Day, instead of people going in and seeing just a headstone with the World War II fallen information on it, they'll be able to read that person's story. So the next step, just summarizing here again, for those people that want to help out with our Arlington project, we need help with story writers. We need that information from you so you can let us know how to get you started. And section directors, database crew, photo enhancers, first story reviewers, Together We Serve editors, we can use help in all those areas. And just email me at don@storiesbehindthestars to get involved in any of those. And what we hope to have happen by Memorial Day is that we'll have a story for every one of the World War II fallen. I was actually in Arlington in the spring, and I went to, this is in section 34, and I noticed each one of these individuals that I put an arrow by died during World War II. And at the time I was there, all I could do is just read their information on their headstone. And there's nothing more that was really easily accessible. But thanks to this project and the help of all our volunteers, someone going here in the future could stop and read a story about each and every one of these people, just right close to one another. And I think that'll make it for a much richer experience at Arlington National Cemetery. Thanks so much.